Bitch, I ain't depressed. Yeah, motherfucker, I'll admit it, that I'm stressed. But I'm a boss. I'm a beast. Like, I'm the best. I'm about to put all this other shit to rest. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley Podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigden. Who was that?
That was the Dropout Kings. They're called the Dropout Kings. And they're not depressed. They are not depressed people.
That's good. Good for them.
Yeah. Hey, that must be nice. Yeah. Now, I'm looking on the live stream.
Yeah.
And it's good. So welcome along to the show. Welcome along to the show, everybody. It is, of course, episode 246 of the Guy and Harley Podcast. The world is ending over in Europe. Actually, no, it sounds like the war's going pretty well by all accounts, from what I've heard. And COVID is ravaging the world, and you and I are going to go to Europe, closer to the nuclear bombs and where the virus is more prevalent. So that's exciting.
That's right. We are. Well, I mean, we sort of are.
Yeah.
Are we? I mean, maybe one of us is. Maybe one of us isn't. So yeah, it's been interesting. We're going away. We're going away to Amsterdam for this awards ceremony, the Septimius Awards, where we've both been nominated for our acting skills.
Yeah.
Our vast acting skills. And, you know, so we decided, fuck it, let's just head over there, you know. What have we got to lose apart from thousands and thousands of dollars and annual leave in my case?
Well, and in my case, the missed work from being away as a freelancer. I'm obviously not working or earning much at all for those 2 weeks. So
Not to mention the destructive nature of jet lag.
Well, I'm quite concerned about that, particularly because it's looking like I've landed a new job, another freelance gig, but it's for a set amount of time for working on the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. And so the reason why I wanted to do that, aside from just needing money and so on, the reason why I applied for it is because if I can get it, then I think it'll look really good on my CV when I try to work on the 2024 Olympic Games in France, which is possible that it could happen. And I felt like get those Commonwealth Games on there as well. That'll be it'll look good. Look like I've been pretty active. But so that's basically going to be keeping me busy every day right up until I leave. And then basically the day I get back in Auckland, I've got a job. Like, I've got to go to work. So this is what they've hit me with the preliminary roster. And I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting them to be like, yeah, we'll need you like once or twice a week, you know, maybe a bit more during the actual games. But in the lead up, just need you once or twice. They're using me like 4 days a week for 8.5 hours a day. So
Welcome to the real world.
yeah, 4 days a week. I can't work that often.
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?
8 hours a day?
8.5.
8.5, four times in a whole week?
So I'm going to be...
What is this, slave labor?
I'm going to be pretty flat out is the point. I'm going to be flat out in the lead up and flat out afterwards as well. So no time to rest. And that gives me some anxiety because all of that travel, all of that jet lag, all of that energy, and then you get back and you just want to fucking chill out.
Oh, you'll be absolutely destroyed.
Oh, get this. The day I land, the venue, so I hold a screening, I've got a screening of films in Christchurch on the 12th of June. Now, it was meant to be on the 13th of June, so I would land in Christchurch on the 12th, have a night's rest after this 30-hour, this 2-week 30-hour flight thing,
60 hours
60
both
hours
ways.
flying. Yeah, exactly. So I would have a rest, and then the next night I've got my event. Well, it turns out the venue changed their availability, and so now the event is the day that I land. So I land at 12:40 p.m. I'll probably get to the hotel by 2 p.m.
Yep.
And normally I go to the venue at 5 p.m. for a 7 p.m. show, which finishes at 9 p.m. So basically I'll get back, I'll have a 2-hour kip, and then I'll get up, and then I'll go be Mr. What's that? Mr. Oh crap! I've forgotten the word now. But I'll be all Mr. Charismatic and at a show, representing a brand and working and getting paid. So I'm gonna be absolutely fucked.
Yeah, no, it's going to be brutal. Like, there's no you travel halfway around the world, or you travel to the other side of the world, the complete opposite other side of the world. Now, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things going on here. Now, for me specifically, the interesting thing going on is not really interesting, but stressful, was that I applied for a passport that is scheduled to take 11 weeks to be processed, and I only have 4 weeks. Yeah, and in fact, now I've only got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so basically what happened is I was like, I'm really and it turns out that so essentially, the COVID tail is long, right? The tendrils of COVID run deep in our society now, and where it sort of damages society. So, obviously we have the health system overwhelmed, and we have lots of people getting sick and some people dying, and a bunch of mad people raging against the vaccine. See what I did there?
Yeah, it rhymes. I like it.
Rage
Against the vaccine.
Yeah.
That's my new band name.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my anti-vax band name.
Exactly. And so we've got all these people, doing dumb stuff, and then we've got every government kind of in the world going, well, we're just going to kill a bunch of folks because our economy is not very good. So let's just kill a bunch of folks. So we're going to take away all our mandates and this and that, and which is good for our travel. It is good for our travel.
It's good for our travel in the sense that it makes it easier for us.
That's what I mean.
It's worse for our travel in the sense that instead of being an elite few who can fly, who are vaccinated and it's safe, you'll just be getting on planes that have literally, if there's 100 people on
COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Like a huge percentage of them carrying COVID.
Yeah.
So imagine if we get there and then we actually get quite sick from the virus.
Exactly.
I picture that maybe the virus won't really be that bad if I get it.
Yeah.
But, what if you get there and it is bad and you just spend your whole holiday both jet-lagged and isolating in a hotel room? Yeah.
Could easily happen.
God.
Could easily happen. Having spent $5,000.
Yeah.
Or something. Maybe not quite that much.
I'm also pretty worried about catching it, basically in this next 2 weeks.
Oh, I'd be very worried about that.
I'm going to be working a lot, and if I catch it...
I'd be very, very worried about that. I've got a story about that coming up.
I can't not work, though, you see, because I need the money for the trip. So I've got to work, which means I've got to put my body at risk, my health at risk, and my entire trip at risk, because if I catch it a week out, then I'm fucked. If I catch it a few days out, I'm rooted.
A few days out could be a problem.
Yeah.
Could be a problem for sure.
Yeah, because imagine trying to sit on a 30-hour flight if you're actually quite sick as well, and you know it's COVID, and you're just giving it to everybody like a cunt.
Oh yeah. It's not good. I'd be more worried about catching it. Essentially, what I think will happen is you'll catch it on the journey there.
Yeah.
And then you'll have it. Now, fortunately, if it's 7 days, will you make the awards show? That's the $1 million question.
I might just make it.
Might just make it.
Maybe not. I think not, to be honest. Yeah.
It'll be touch and go.
Yeah.
So that's certainly possible. That could happen. Now, for me, with my passport, I had to apply for emergency documents. And I found out that I have been granted those emergency documents. So I just found out yesterday I've been granted those emergency documents, which means, in theory, that I can travel to the UK and to Amsterdam. However, it's sort of like what it said about Amsterdam was like, yeah, you can travel and you can travel in and out. But it was sort of also like, but can you? It was like, yeah, you can, but
see how you go when you get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was like, okay, so I've got these documents so while you could get COVID and, not participate in the awards, I could get to Amsterdam and they go, hey, you can't come in. So there's that issue, but there's a even more pressing issue for me, even more concerning than that, which is that essentially I am a permanent resident in New Zealand, but I am not considered a New Zealander. I don't have a New Zealand passport. I only have this British passport, which has now expired, which means now all I actually have is these emergency travel documents, which have not arrived yet, but are scheduled to arrive next week, right? Now, based off these emergency travel documents, I can't actually get back into New Zealand. Despite the fact that I live here in New Zealand, right? Yeah. Despite the fact that I am a permanent resident, which is a residency that is indefinite, right? I hold that residency until I die, right? But here's the trick. You need to have that on your passport. But I don't have a passport because the passport is being processed. So I got into this huge argument with the New Zealand immigration where they're like, yeah, so you just need to submit your old passport and your new passport, and then we will transfer your permanent residency. And I was like, yes, but I don't have my old passport because I sent it away, and I don't have my new passport because it's being processed. That's why I have these emergency travel documents. You see that's the why. You're giving me an impossible scenario. To get my thing, but I have it. Like, it exists. It's on my record. They're like, yeah, we're just looking at your record now. We can see that you're a permanent resident. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what in the flying fuck am I meant to do? And this is what I hate about, like, kind of bureaucracy, and sort of like kind of how privileged people get ahead in life when sort of the meek and vulnerable don't. And basically, I just had to turn into a cunt on the phone. You're right. So what? So
cuntiness came out.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to be like, I want to speak to the supervisor, please. Yeah. No, I'm not. You're telling me, look, that's impossible. Yeah. That's literally impossible. You're telling me that there's not a single thing I can do right now. And they're like, that's what I'm saying, sir. There's not a single thing. I was like, no, that can't happen because there must be people like me in the world that are traveling on emergency documents. I'm a permanent resident. You can see it on my visa. Right? Yeah. I want to speak to the supervisor. Well, I'm afraid we don't normally do that, sir. Yeah. Okay, so you're telling me that if I want to escalate this issue, the only thing I can do is complain on the website? You're referring me to a website when I could just speak to a supervisor right now? Yeah. Right?
Well, sir, you could also complain on your podcast about it.
Exactly.
You're welcome to complain about on your podcast.
But it's like, I just had to turn into a dick, and then what do you know? At the end of that conversation, they're like, the supervisor can't speak to you right now, but they'll give you a call back in 5 minutes. They called me back in 5 minutes and laid out 3 different scenarios for a way that I could essentially do this. So the first way is that I can apply for an e-visa, which means that it will be on my travel documents, but it won't be visible. It will, and I can do that. Now, if for some reason, and I have to say it basically with a cover letter, sorry, I don't have my new passport, but here is my verified travel documents. Can you please put it onto my travel documents? And they will process this potentially not in time. If that fails, I have to call them up in 7 days of my travel. So while I'm actually over there, in the UK or in Amsterdam, I have to call them up and go, hey, I'm traveling and you haven't processed this thing. And they said the only way you can do it is to call them and for them to initiate emergency looking at it, right? I can't just do this now. Yeah. And then they initiate emergency looking at it, and then if they approve it, they'll just put it on this e-visa. The third and final option is when I'm in Dubai, right, on the flight back, they will see that I don't have my permanent resident visa, and I go, could you please call border control? And they will confirm that I am a permanent resident, and then you can let me on. Now, has happened in the past, according to the person that I spoke to, and there's no particular reason why border control would go no, right? They can see that I'm a permanent resident, right? So there's no reason they'd say no, but they do have the right to say no. So I could get to Dubai and then be like, yeah, border control says no. And I'd be like, So those are my 3 sort of stages. But basically what it means is like, yeah, I'm getting on that plane. I know I'm going, but I definitely do not know if I'm coming back.
You'll end up living in the airport like that,
like Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks' stupidest movie, Tom Hanks' worst film.
Yeah,
What's it called?
The Terminal.
The Terminal.
That's where I'll be living.
Made me terminal when I watched it.
Terrible. The Dubai
It was
Terminal.
Like he was
is where I'll
playing
be
a
living.
foreign person.
Yeah.
But it was like he was playing a mentally disabled foreign
He was
person.
playing
He was like acting like really simple.
Well, it was very Borat-esque as well. The performance seemed a little Borat-esque to me.
Pretty Borat, but Borat-esque.
But yeah, so anyway, I could be living in the terminal on the way back, but I have 3 chances to not live in the terminal.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go, okay, well, I'm going to apply before I leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to call them up while I'm over there.
Yeah.
And then if that fails or it still hasn't been processed, I'm going to go, hello, Border Control. It's me, Guy Pigden, the guy that's lived here for, 38 years or 36 of the 38 years of my life. Would you mind letting me back in so I can continue to pay my taxes and go to my regular job and all that sort of stuff that you have all that information readily available to you? Thank you.
Well, it's good that you get to add all of this extra stress into your life.
Oh, I love it.
It's so
nice. Meant to be a
fun
lovely
trip.
jaunt over and bask in our glory, right? But actually, the whole time I'm going to be shitting bricks about this whole visa thing.
Yeah, it'll certainly take it out, take the pleasure out of it.
Right out of it. Out of it.
You eat a weed cookie, and all you can think about is how you can't get back into New Zealand. You're in the weed cafe, and you eat a weed cookie, and then all you can think about is just the crippling anxiety of whether or not you're going to be able to return home or not.
Well,
that'd be cool.
The crazy thing is, had I not turned into a cunt on the phone, the conversation I'd be having with you on the podcast right now
I can't go.
is that I'm not going.
Yeah.
So literally, my cuntiness is the only thing that has allowed me to take this trip.
Well, your cuntiness is a superpower.
Had I not had that, and had I just been polite, essentially, had I been a nice, polite human being, a respectful, nice, polite human being, and said, okay, so you're telling me that I need my old passport or my new passport, and I've only got this, and so it's impossible. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Cancel my tickets. Can't go. Yeah. Done.
Yeah.
But we still also have this whole.
Nice guys finished last, Guy.
We still have this whole Amsterdam turnaround issue as well.
Where you land in Amsterdam
and they're
like, you can't come
these
in here.
These travel documents.
You don't have a passport. That's weird. We've got audio, but battery must have died on the 2-shot, is my guess.
Okay, let me see if I can fix that.
Okay, yeah, well, great. I had somebody similar, Guy, a similar story. Yep. I was working with somebody the other day who was a Scottish guy going back to the UK somewhere, and his passport had expired. Actually, it hadn't expired. It was the exact same situation as yours. It hadn't actually expired, but it was within 3 months of expiring. So, and he's only just realised, and he's meant to be travelling, and so he is really worried about his trip, which is in September. He was talking about that 11-week wait time, and he has to wait. He's worried about it even in September. So, he's much less fucked than you.
That's right.
We're
back.
We're back.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But this is also this is part of the pandemic problems. No one's really been traveling for 2 years. And then all these visa places are getting inundated by people applying to travel or to get back to wherever they used to live or, actually go, leave for overseas, all the things that everyone was unable to do. And what's weird is they could have really foreseen this. It's like, okay, guys, it's dead. There's nothing happening.
Maybe we should get ahead.
Is it now, okay, what are we going to do? Because obviously things will change. Okay, we've been notified by the government that in 3 or 4 weeks everything's going to open up. What do you think is going to happen, guys? Oh, well, we'll probably be absolutely flooded with people trying to travel. Yep, no, that sounds probably what's going to happen. All right, guys, let's hire an extra 10, 20 people to process all this extra shit and let's get into it. Instead, they're like, we're completely inundated. We're shutting down the passport division here for the next 2 weeks, so you can't talk to us. And that's the other thing is all these helplines and phone calls and stuff. I had to wait an hour to have my conversation, to have my argument, but I tried multiple other phone lines first, and they all lead you in the loop. They're like, if you want,
I know about the loop.
If you want information on this, press 1.
The loop frustrates the fuck out of me.
And if you want information on that, press 2. And you go, okay, you press your button and you go, thank you. Here's a bunch of information. Also, no one can take your call at this time. Goodbye. Yeah. And you're like, I just needed to talk to someone. That was the only thing I had to do on this thing.
Well, that is something I miss from the pre-internet era. Everybody had to actually answer the phone, and they had to talk to you, and they had to have enough people to talk to you. So
now, not so much. Yeah.
Our trip to Amsterdam, I looked at the other nominees. So I did share that I've been nominated, and I looked at the other nominees, and I recognised one of the names on there, who was nominated for Best Actress, Oceanian Actress, and but I don't actually know her, but I'm Facebook friends with her, and so I messaged her and I said, I see you're going along, like congratulations, I see you're going along to this thing, I'm going as well. I've been nominated for the Best Oceanian Actor. Left me on scene, no reply. So evidently this actor is either a lot more famous than I think they are, or they think they're a lot more famous than they are.
Or they really don't like you.
Well, I mean, but this is not a person that I've had like a lot of, like interactions with or anything like that. It was really just a sort of a cursory, like...
It's tall poppy syndrome.
Hello, well done, congratulations sort of thing. I'll see you over there.
Isn't it almost like, hey, you're nominated for that thing, I'm nominated too. Oh, fuck you then.
Fuck you too.
Fuck you. I'm the special one. Yeah. I'm the best actor, not you.
Well, I didn't.
Fuck you.
I did announce it today.
Yeah.
And straight away somebody was like, and a couple of people were like,
weird.
they've been nominated for, such and such has been
and
nominated.
You're like, hang on a fucking second.
Good for you.
Fuck you all, leaving them all on scene. They all congratulate you, you leave them all on scene. No, I'm the special one. I did this. I earned this nomination. Yeah. You guys are shit.
Yeah. It doesn't make it feel as special when other people are nominated as well.
Yeah. Who cares?
Sure.
Who cares?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
The other day I was filming something. The same day I was talking to the Scotsman, and it was a conference, a breakfast conference, and I all of a sudden had to do a large sneeze. Which was like my worst nightmare for public anxiety at the moment. With, with COVID and all that. And I'm up the back of a quiet breakfast conference, and a few days beforehand I had a similar situation, and I'd managed to do, and I never really managed to do this, but I managed to do a little. Just a little one of those, just a little, a little internal sneeze, which I never managed to pull off. And so I was like, I'll just do that again. And then I was like, and like, just like I chewed a real wet sounding boogery one, like just direct into my mask. I didn't even get time to get my elbow up really. Yeah. I was just like, so that was good. So they're probably not going to hire me again.
Well, speaking of, COVID and all that sort of thing, I did attend a super spreader event party on the weekend.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, as I sit next to you and I worry about my international travel.
Well, what you better think is that you're 100% wrong about me not getting COVID.
Yeah, why?
Because if you're right about me getting COVID,
then you've just caught
then I probably just caught COVID.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is my close personal friend, Alex Savage, attended the IPW's Eliminator event on the weekend, on Saturday, where he fought to the bitter end with his arch nemesis and former tag team partner, Will Stone. They were the final two in the Eliminator, but unfortunately Alex Savage was vanquished after a low blow, and not despite fighting back valiantly, could not score the pin and lost his opportunity at the IPW Heavyweight Championship, which the winner receives at any time they should choose. So anyway, at that event, one of the person, the funny, it's sort of funny. It is funny. So essentially the Eliminator is like the Royal Rumble, where 20 people come in and then whoever's at the end wins it, or the last two go into a real match. And then after that real match, whoever wins that match wins the whole thing. Okay, that's how it works. And you start off by eliminating people over the top rope if you get thrown out over the top rope. So anyway, essentially the first person that came into the Eliminator with these 20 other people found out they had COVID the next day. Okay, so those 20 people, the guy that was in at number 1 and stayed until like 18, so he stayed essentially for the entire time, interacting with everyone. Single person in that ring had COVID. Yeah. And then obviously post that, so the person that I went to the gym with yesterday, COVID. Worked out with him, just far away. Bumped fists with him. My hands were where his hands were. COVID. The person that I fought to the bitter end, the eliminator, or my close personal friend, Alex Savage. COVID. Right? COVID. Everyone COVID except me. So you do the math, Harley.
Oh, I wish I had known this before the show. I would have done it on Zoom.
Well, you shouldn't be worried because, as I said, I already had COVID.
Yeah, but you can catch it more than once.
It's true, you can.
Having COVID is like having one vaccine instead of 2 or 3. But you should still be pretty. I think you should be extra vaccinated if you've had it. Extra immune if you have had it.
The idea.
Because you've had 3 vaccines, right?
I've had 3 vaccines.
It's 3 vaccines, and if you have had the COVID, then that's 4. So you should be even even more protected.
But we can now. All I can tell you is that I took a COVID test last night.
Yeah.
Clean as a whistle. No worries.
I had one a couple of days ago as well.
And I always take them just sporadically.
Yeah.
Just to sort of make sure.
Yeah.
Now
I just like sticking things up my nose.
But basically, I think there's 2 options here. Within a day or 2, I will develop COVID-like symptoms, or I won't.
Well, there's still time to get over it.
Exactly.
Before the journey, if that is the case.
So if anything, you want to get COVID now.
Well, I don't, because I really need the money for work. I need to go to work.
I feel
need money
like
for this expensive
your insurance
journey.
policy, though, is to get COVID now, so you won't ruin your awards.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrice vaxxed, plus I've got the normal flu vaccine now. So
that won't help you.
It might help.
I mean, it might help.
It might help.
It will certainly diminish the symptoms.
Yeah. So, well, here's hoping I don't get that.
So, super spreader event, I was there.
We'll see how that goes. Well, speaking of being sick, the other day I had to fly to Christchurch, and as I was flying out of Christchurch, I flew down for a screening of short films. As I was flying out of Christchurch, there was a sudden, jarring, turbulent lurch to the left. All of a sudden, like the plane was going up, and then it went... And, to the
very
side.
Scary.
And it was quite a big lurch, and it really put my stomach up in my mouth. And here's the thing: normally it's a decent sized plane, but in this particular case, I walked in, and it was a little plane. I saw it on the tarmac there. I walked in, right? You could see the propellers. That's how small it was, and there was only two rows on either side.
Anytime you can see the propellers properly, not the kind of the twirly giant propellers, but the little
turbines.
Yeah, if
not a turbine.
No turbines. Start worrying.
No jet engines. Yeah, exactly. Well, I had that one. I mean, that's the same technology they were using in World War I, for crying out loud. I can see the propeller. What's going on here?
They had lots of crashes in World War I.
Yeah, exactly. And so... little plane, real stuffy. Like I walked in and I felt the heat straight away, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" And plus, I was at the front. Normally, at the front is good. Normally, you want the front because that means you get off quickly. But on the small plane, you get on and off at the back. So being at the front is like being at the back. So I was at the front, and this hot plane with stuffed in there, and it was full. We were stuffed in like sardines, and there was some poor young lady sitting beside me, and then there was this big lurch, and then so I started to get a bit of an upset tummy.
Oh, you poor little tummy.
I started to feel a little bit queasy.
Your little tummy was upset by a little lurch in the plane.
And so what happened was, I noticed that what happens with me, right, is that if I feel sick, I start to get this, I can tell when I'm about to puke, basically, because I start to get this little involuntary quiver in my lips. And it's like just a little quiver in my lips that it's just entirely involuntary. And it's just, and that's like my body just preparing to throw up, basically. I don't know why it does that, but it's like, okay, my body's like, oh yeah, here comes, your lunch is coming back, homie. And I had just eaten some poached eggs, and like coffee and toast and bacon, and the poached eggs were not quite cooked properly. I don't like it when they're all watery, so I was just picturing this watery poached eggs sloshing around in my stomach, and my lips were all quivering, and so I had to take my mask off because I was millimeters away from throwing up, and I felt, I was like sorry to the person beside me. I didn't say that, but I thought it.
You just looked at them.
Just looked at them like, yep, sorry. And so I took off my mask. Very rude in this day and age.
Yep.
Very rude. It's a social faux pas.
Yep.
And so I took off my mask on the plane and I just had to sit there feeling like shit. And then so we landed and I was like, okay, cool. I didn't puke. I managed to make it through, but I was pretty worried about, vomiting all over this girl or having to vomit in the bag. It's so degrading. And also nobody else had puked, so I would have been the first one. I would have been that guy, the guy that sets off the whole plane and everybody starts chundering in their bags. And so anyway, we landed and I was like, sweet, thank fucking God I can get out of here. And then they're like, oh, we've just got to do some end of day checks because it's the last flight for this plane. So here's our end of day checks. And then they just took turns about like revving each side engine, which just caused the plane to wobble from side to side. And I was sitting there, millimeters away from puking. And then they finally let me off. And instead of being able to get off, in the terminal, I had to get off and get onto a bus on the tarmac. And then so I had to get in with 60 other people. They said there were 60 people. So we were squished in a bus now, driving around on the freaking tarmac. And I was just sitting there like just ready to die. And then I finally got off that, and then I get into my Uber to get to my hotel, and we get one of these shitty stop-start drivers, someone who accelerates and then brakes, accelerates then brakes, accelerates then brakes, instead of just cruising through. And so basically I felt like shit the entire time, and it was terrible. But I did manage to hold my lunch down in the end. But it really kind of ruined the next couple of hours for me as I slept and cried and wept.
Fun story for me is that a couple of birthdays ago, we all went out drinking, and I had one of those stop-start Uber drivers, except not really. You know what I mean? It was more that they were like, because there's the stop-start like hardcore breaker, right? And that's actually my dad and my mum would drive a bit like that. Sorry, dad and mum, but you really don't know how to ease onto that brake. It's just like, oh, is there something going?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have someone that's just a little heavy-handed, right? Or heavy-footed, right? And that was really more the case. And then basically what happened is that my girlfriend at the time had consumed a lot of alcohol that night.
So this was a drive home from
the
party.
was a drive home from the party.
Yeah.
Now, I had also consumed alcohol, but I felt fine. It was no big deal. Because I don't have a sick little dummy that gets upset all the time.
Well, he just catches COVID all the time instead. 2 times, but the tests don't think so.
I don't know. I only caught it once.
Got a sniffly nose. No, you said last time. This is the second time that you're saying that. Oh, okay, no. Yeah, it's the same. You're referring to the same time.
Yeah, I'm referring to the same time.
Yeah. No, I thought there was another time. No, there was another time during the first round of the first lockdown, and you were like, and it was on the show, and we talked about it. This is your second time.
Yeah, but I took a PCR test for that, so
yeah.
I knew that I wasn't. It was just cold. I'm only 100% convinced I've had COVID once.
Once, right?
So anyway, my girlfriend kind of went off on the Uber driver. Now, of course, I was paying for the Uber. And I was also a former Uber driver.
And you're the one who was going to get 1 star.
So I was like, okay, so there's multiple problems here.
Yeah.
1, this person has not really been, driving that badly. 2, my fellow Uber driver has been attacked. Right? 3, that fellow Uber driver is going to attack me in the ratings department. And I was like, hey, it's all right, babe. I think just... it's okay. It's, that's all right. What are we making a big deal of?
How many exes ago was this?
This is just my girlfriend one time removed.
Your ex one time removed.
But this is the thing. She almost 2 times removed me because after that I was like, so, I think he's doing an okay job. Let's just let the man, let the man. And she's like, oh, of course, you wouldn't take my side, would you? Oh, of course, you side with an Uber driver. Oh, because you're an Uber driver. Yeah, that's right. So you would never side with your girlfriend about Uber driving. Oh, yeah, even if you stop starting. And I was like, okay, I don't think you've had a lot to drink tonight. Like, you've had like 10 cocktails. You're off your fucking rocker. I think that's really the issue here. Oh, of course you'd never be on my side. Oh, well, you know what? Maybe we should just break up. Yep, we're breaking up. That's it. You're dumb. We're breaking up.
Because you don't support me over the Uber driver.
Because you would take an Uber driver's side rather than your girlfriend.
Uber driver?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh my god."
And I was like, okay. My whole world is crashing down around me. This is my birthday.
Yeah.
I've just had an amazing time.
Ruining my birthday.
I've been out with my friends. It was a good time. We had some good laughs. It was all cool. And then this. And I was like, and now I don't have a girlfriend. And I live with my girlfriend. So I've got to move out. And my whole life's about to change. And this has all happened, as the clock strikes sort of midnight. It's all over now. And
then you threw up.
No, and then I was fine. And then the next day she was like, oh, maybe I overreacted a little bit. And I was like, you think?
Maybe.
You fucking think? But I was also like, oh, okay, cool. So that whole breaking up thing that I had mentally that completely ruined my birthday and I had mentally, started to prepare for and was absolutely devastated by is not happening. Oh, no, it's not happening. Okay, cool. Well, let's save that for Christmas Day in a year then, shall we?
She aims for...
Let's just save that for the next kind of important event where you want to be happy.
Tried it on your birthday first.
Yeah. She tried to flip it on the birthday.
And then on Christmas.
But then she reneged. And then she came back hard on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
She came back hard on Christmas Day. And there was no stopping her that time. So,
Interesting.
It's a fun little fact. But that's... Stop-start Uber driving can,
it can
really cause some serious issues.
Some issues, yeah. Well, it would have caused a serious issue if I'd puked in his car and had to pay for it. Or he'd had a crash. He was pretty shit. To be honest, he was pretty shit.
Yeah. You know what annoys me about Uber drivers now? Is when they have the audio on the directions.
It's like, bing bong.
Turn left. But real loud too. Like, turn left on Onslow Road. And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
take a right onto Queen Street.
Yeah.
Could you maybe... Oh, I need that for my navigation. Yeah. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Just follow the fucking arrow.
Just follow, yeah.
One star, motherfucker.
1 star for you, motherfucker. Yeah. Things have come... Callback from many years ago. Yeah. Things have gone full circle. Our long-time listeners will remember that.
Yeah.
1 star for you, motherfucker. I was thinking about that the other day, actually.
As you gave a Uber driver 1 star.
No, I just never rate. If I'm unhappy, I don't rate. And if I am happy, I don't rate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Keep it neutral.
Keep it neutral, exactly. We did have the premiere the other day of Dubai, the short film that I've been producing for a little while, which was shot in January.
Yeah.
And it got postponed twice because of COVID, and then eventually happened 6 months later. So basically it ended up being from when I first met with the director to when it finally came, was finally screening in a cinema, was probably a year or so, which is still not that bad. Like, considering we shot in January and it's now out in May, that's not too bad.
Doing a lot better than our other films.
Yeah. Well, it helps that he had a deadline because he had to have it in by a certain time. So that deadline, I guess, really lights a fire up under your ass. But yeah, so screening of Dubai, it went really well. I'm very happy with it, and it was great to see the film up on the big screen, and I think it turned out great, and I'm very proud of it. And it was a fun screening, and we didn't invite that many people because the director didn't want any COVID issues. So my plan was to pack out the cinema basically, but he was like, no, we'll just keep it small. So it was just cast, crew, and friends. But it was a good wee crowd, and we had a good time and had a few drinks, and I'm very happy with that. So, On him, yeah. On the director. Yeah.
Madness.
The director.
I don't think we put a tab on we definitely didn't put a tab on the older premiere.
No, we didn't. Or on Emmy the Vegan.
Well, we're trying to cover the bloody cinema cost.
Exactly.
Then we got to put a tab on as well.
Well, the cinema costs a lot of money.
Exactly.
So for 1 hour on a Sunday is $400 plus GST. So $460 for your troubles for a Sunday, for a 1 hour screening. And so you've either got to sell tickets to it to make that money back, or you've got to absorb that cost. It's one or the other. And it's this particular one was 130 seat cinema. So, I don't know how many dollars you'd have to sell each seat for, but yeah. So you're trying to cover all that. But what do you think? You were there?
Oh yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Like I said sort of to you, I was like, look, this is about as good as you could have hoped for a first film. Like, first films are traditionally shit. Like, they're traditionally the worst film you ever make. And so to make, like, something that's good is actually very rare. And to make something that, like, pretty much works on most counts, that's actually, that's way harder than making a good film later on. Like, that's a lot harder than... we should be expected to make good films now, right? He should not be expected to make a good film. He should be expected to make a shitty film that's quite flawed and has a lot of things wrong. Yeah, shitty student film. That's what he should do. But he actually made a really good film, which, you wouldn't necessarily say was a student's. And, as I said, I was like, you should show him our first film. The juxtaposition.
Superstition bites.
And you're like, you'd be like, well, no, I want him to take me seriously.
I want him to take me. Yeah, but also, there's a thing that we've got to acknowledge, which is that, unfortunately, we are extremely old. And
I was going to say, yeah, come on.
And so that our first film was shot in a pre-internet era where if you wanted to learn how to edit, for example, you couldn't jump on the internet and figure it out.
There was no internet.
There was no internet. So you edited our first film on 2 VCRs.
Yeah.
So we shot the film on a Hi8 camera, and then you exported that somehow, tape onto a VCR tape.
I recorded from that tape onto a VCR tape.
Yeah.
And then I had a blank tape, which was the other tape.
That's where it was going to end up, where the final
film was going to
end up.
And then I put the 2 VCRs together and basically connected them.
Yeah.
I pressed play where I wanted a bit, hit record on the other one, hit stop.
Yeah.
And if I fucked it up, rewind and go back again.
Analog editing, but without the proper equipment.
Without any of the proper tools.
To edit analog, Yeah.
So yes, we are old.
And so you couldn't learn, you couldn't just jump on YouTube like you can now. So anybody that's making films today
are spoiled little shitheads.
Or doing any art of any description or anything
spoiled
technical,
little cunts.
Can all just jump online and go, all right, YouTube, please explain to me step by step how to do this.
Privileged.
And Reddit.
Spoiled little assholes.
Professionals from Reddit, please give me, I've got a specific question. Can you guys please answer this for me relating to this topic?
Oh, I can't get my proxy files in the right format. I can't get them to relink.
We didn't have that. There was none of that. There was none of that stuff. So it's a little unfair to compare them.
It is true.
Even the method, like nowadays you'd go how to make a movie, and it would go, all right, get a microphone and keep it, within this distance of a person's face. But we didn't even have that. So it was like you just set up a camera way over there. There was no audio. You go, we want to do a wide shot, but we want to have dialogue. So you just set up a camera way over there. There's cars driving past
and talk louder
and just talk. 5 meters away.
Well, that's the other issue too, is that obviously the cameras have come such a long way. So essentially the equivalent, what we could afford, or the camera we could afford with milk run money, was a steaming turd of a thing that it could never, regardless of how.
It was a consumer tape camera.
Yeah, like
i8 in it.
However it was recorded, whatever you did to it.
Do you know what brand it was? Was it Panasonic?
There was a Panasonic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or Sony or a Panasonic.
Yeah.
But regardless of what you did to it, could never look good. It could only look like a shitty, crappy hi8 camera, camcorder. That's all it could ever look like. Whereas now, with that same amount of money, you can get a literal cinema camera, which is like one of the ones, in fact, is one of the ones that we're filming with right now. You can get that. So yes, there is a big difference. So yes, they are spoiled little shitheads now, privileged.
Yeah, well, it makes me sad because, unfortunately,
we're the victims of technology.
We are, because the field is still level. It doesn't really matter.
The bar is lowered.
Matters, but they can start basically higher up the ladder than us. They can start with a much higher base knowledge than we have.
Yeah.
And so obviously they can catch up to us
way
and be
quicker,
doing really high quality stuff and much earlier in their career than we were. Because we are the poor generation that bridged the gap between the the analog and digital world. Now, on the one hand, I think that's really cool because obviously we're a pretty historic generation. We graduated high school in the year 2000 and we were teenagers when the internet became a big thing.
Yeah.
So we are a pretty interesting generation.
We at least have some perspective.
We'll be remembered, but it's a horrible hamstringing because not all generations are born equal.
That's true.
And it's a horrible hamstringing for us because the generation internet natives are obviously going to be like better with all of this.
Can interface with this technology easier because they were born into it.
Molded by it.
Exactly. Whereas we were what? What's the beginning of that quote?
You think the internet is your friend because you adopted it or something?
Yeah.
I was born into it.
We adopted
molded by it.
We
You think
adopted it.
Darkness betrays you. It betrays you because it was never yours. It was always mine or something.
So we're that Bane situation with Batman and Bane.
Yeah, we are Bane.
And you know, no, we're Batman, and Bane is breaking our back.
Sorry. And Bane is the upcoming kids.
Yeah, Bane is like breaking our back in a fight, in a filmmaking fight.
Yeah.
It's not very nice. So, yeah, Tyler Adams says 100% I did the VCR editing when I was little. Also, even like the access to like good cameras, you know, like, you know, this like we're talking about like a high 8 camcorder. It's like we couldn't go to we couldn't afford any good cameras, but we couldn't just go into a store and go, give me the camera that they shot the latest James Bond film for, please. We'd like to shoot our cool student short on that.
Yeah.
And that's literally what they shot. This short film, but also lots of
What was it shot on?
I think it was shot on the Alexa Mini LF.
Yeah.
Or maybe a slightly earlier Alexa, but either way, essentially, that's all the same sensor. So it's the same kind of look. Yeah. And it's like, yes, I'd like No Time to Die camera, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And they go, here you go, sir. Have fun on your little student film.
Yeah.
Hey, bring it back in 2 days.
Yeah, that's not what happened. The director of photography is a professional that had all his own gear, had a great kit.
But that like one of the film schools literally has that camera.
Yeah.
And each finished thing is shot on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a
that's a pretty good carrot to dangle. If you're a film school, you go, hey, look, your final film is going to be shot on an amazing camera that the industry professionals are using.
Well, then you have this other question, right? Because you're like, okay, cool. Should I spend $20,000 on this going through this filmmaking course, or should I spend a couple $100 per day over a week to shoot my version of that without doing that, you know? Like, will I get something better from doing the film school process, or will I actually save a lot of money because I'll still end up with a shit film either way? So, you know, obviously you don't think you will, but, you know, I'll likely end up just...
but are you talking about just making one with no training and learning on the job versus going and getting training and making one?
You have to remember that when you say the training, the real training of filmmaking is going and doing it.
Yeah, but that's what film school does. It sends you out every day to go and do stuff.
Not that often. It's more like, hey, you're this guy's person on charge of the lights, so we want you to set up the lights. And you go, cool, sweet, I'm this person, and you put up a light. Right, but that doesn't teach you how to.
But then you learn how lights work.
Well, not really.
You work with the director of photography and the director.
But the director of the photography doesn't know anything either.
Oh, you mean on a student film?
On a student film that's being taught at film school.
But that's what the tutor's for. You know, the tutor is that. And then on top of that, they give you like placement and so on as well, like work placement and other stuff during your
I would say that a lot of film, like a lot of these movies don't end up looking like they were shot on the James Bond camera.
Yeah.
They look like shitty student films where people, no one has really any experience. Like, it's like, you could talk about how to light a scene.
So are you talking about using the $20,000 to buy the camera?
Not buy it, just literally hire it for a couple of days. So you don't even spend, you literally spend maybe $1,000 on hiring that camera from a rental place, as opposed to $20,000 on going to film school and finishing with your thesis.
I think the learning is valuable.
I disagree. That's what YouTube is for.
Well, yeah, it's a little different nowadays with the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's valuable still. I mean, like, literally, you teach stuff like this. And Are you saying that it's not valuable
Don't
for your
do it.
students?
Students, don't do it. Don't be part of this.
You're saying it's not valuable for your students. Like, you don't give them value towards their filmmaking careers.
I would say this: nothing I teach can't be taught. They can't teach themselves.
Yeah.
However, what I will say is there's a few different types of learners, and some learners are very they just want to eat up everything. That's kind of me. I don't need anyone to teach me. But that's not that I won't seek out information from other people. I love when people tell me how to do something, but if they don't, I'm very happy to figure it all out myself. However, I've noticed that actually many of my students aren't like that. So they don't want to go and watch YouTube tutorials. They want me to show them how to do whatever that thing is.
Well, I think that you're a little bit lucky, Guy, because most people are not like you. Most people are like that.
Yeah, well, that might be true. That might be true.
Which is that I want to be shown by somebody.
Yes.
Because it cuts out all the bullshit in between. Because obviously, you at the beginning, you don't even know what to Google. You've got to figure out what to Google, and that's the boring part. And then you've got to learn it, right? Whereas if you know somebody and you go, hey, what was the story? And they basically put you on the fast track. And they go, oh, yeah. So no, you're doing it wrong. Forget about all that. Here's what you want to be focusing on. And then you can kind of cut straight to the chase.
You can, but
that's me. That's more me.
I still feel like you kind of cut to the chase of doing it shit. Because you go, I go, cool. Here's how you light. Here's how you record sound. Here's how you do all this stuff. Let me show you practically how to do it. Let's do all these exercises. Okay, you go away and now do that without me. And then they do something that is, just shit because it's their first time.
But it would be worse if they just did it with no instruction.
I guess so.
Like if they were just like at the beginning of your course versus at the end of their course.
I guess so. I think
obviously they learn a bunch of stuff.
Tyler says if you live in LA, maybe go to school. Otherwise, go out and make a movie. I would say to me, the best experience is always in the doing, and that's where you make all the true mistakes. I've also been on a lot of not a lot, but I've been on probably 3 or 4 end of teaching student films, and I would not say they got their money's worth from that education. I would say I was like watching them, and I'd sit on set and I'd go, this is like me and Harley when we were making our first short. Before we didn't. I mean, you did. I didn't. But like when we started making movies, I was often on these sets going, yeah, I see a lot of the same things that we did here, and a lot of the same kind of mistakes and choices, because really, you learn through the actual kind of the execution of it, and then the reflection on that execution. So I would say that, for instance, if you're going to film school, I'd be like, yeah, man, film school is 100% worth it if you make a short film every week, because then actually by the end, but that's actually tends not to be the case. So that's kind of my issue with them, the schools.
But I feel like they still make the same amount of short films as we do per year. Like if you're doing a 1 year course, you're going to end up doing at minimum one short film for that course. And if it's 1 year, and then also probably a bunch of other bits and pieces, plus working on other short films and all that. So I really feel like if you're studying full time, you're going to get more experience, on-set experience, than, the average, or than we do, generally speaking, apart from, like, obviously you're making a lot of YouTube stuff now, but, usually, like, if you take that away, in terms of actual films and short films, we ain't doing, one a year.
Yeah, but that's only because of where we are in terms of what we want to do and the sort of quality that we want to deliver with ours. If I was back in student days, I'd be happy to make crazy little shorts all the time. And they don't do that. There's not at least here in New Zealand, there's no film school that does like really consistent lots and lots of shorts all the way up until like a massive big budget short or something like that. It's let's talk about theory, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, let's show you how to use the equipment.
South Seas is great.
South Seas don't make like 10 short films.
I've acted in a bunch of their short films, a few of their short films.
Yeah, me too.
For people.
And that was the ones I was in was their final thing that they did.
Yeah.
And they hadn't done like heaps before that.
Yeah.
And some like had maybe done none before that.
Well, I don't know. I think that if you want to, I reckon film school is pretty valuable. More like a polytech though, not like university, like going to university and studying film theory and all that stuff. I'm not so convinced on, because it takes a lot of, I don't know, there's a whole lot of like talking about films and not that much making films. But Polytech one is really the happy medium between the two of them, because you actually are making, productions, and you're working on all of your classmates' productions, and you're going to get work placement as well on an actual film set or TV studio or whatever as well. So there's going to be lots of valuable stuff there. The question is, how rich are you? Because if it's $20,000,
that's what I'm saying.
But if you can afford it, I think that film school is a good idea.
I think if you can afford it, if you've got disposable cash, maybe. But if you're just someone that's going to be lumped with this big student debt at the end, you could, as long as you're a proactive person, you can just do it. There's absolutely nothing to stop you.
That's the thing. The other thing, a very valuable thing about studying is that you meet people.
I think that's the only valuable thing about film schools.
You establish relationships with people that you're going to work with potentially for decades.
Yeah, that's the only thing for me.
Probably one of the most important things.
Everything else is
meeting people is pretty important.
Well, but they don't say
you don't make films.
They don't say, but they also don't say go to film school to meet people. They say go to film school to learn how to make films.
Well, it's both. It's both, obviously.
That's not what they're. I just think meeting people is important. Networking is really important. But again, if you're proactive, lots of people, at least to begin with, are really excited to help make movies because making movies is exciting.
Yeah, but those are the shit people.
Not
the shit people, but they're the inexperienced people. Whereas if you're going to go to a film school, at the end of the film school, everyone's got a year worth of experience, or you've got your tutors and the other people that you meet through, work placement and all of these types of things. So it's not just asking your mates, it's asking people who have an active interest in whichever department you're into, whether it's a director of photography or whether it's an editor or an actor or whatever it is. You can find all of that through a film school or a polytech, and it's really the fast track. And the trick would be to continue to also make your own stuff on the side as well.
The trick would be to use all their cameras and a gear to make your own shit all the way through. But I don't really just think you're really going to level up if you're just going to follow their own prescribed filmmaking.
I think you are.
Well,
so we'll have to let the listeners vote on that one.
Absolutely not worth the money that you would pay.
Absolutely, I think it is worth. Well, it depends on how much it is, obviously, and which school it is, and all that, and exactly what you're learning.
You should really look up the South Seas fees.
But whatever it is, I don't think it's 20,000. By the way, I think it's less.
Well, it's a 3-year course. Remember,
there might be different options for what you can take, but. Whatever it is, anyway.
Do not go to film school.
I think that
whatever
film
you
school
do
has a lot of value, and that actually it puts you
save your money.
You could be at, it could cut years out of your journey, so that you don't have to spend as long figuring out how to make movies.
Only
because
if
you're sat down every day and told how to make movies by an experienced professional like this guy here who does.
I don't teach film school.
No, but you teach a very similar thing. And obviously, if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, look, that's cool that you're doing this media stuff, but I reckon you should be teaching films, given your experience, and that's your true passion."
I'd say
so. Here's a job paying the same.
I'll be honest with you. I think film schools are a big con. So if you're willing to pay me more than I make now, I accept.
But what you do is very similar to a film school. You're still teaching a lot of the same stuff. You're doing a media.
But I guess it's a lot more of a hybrid model. There's a lot of stuff outside of filmmaking that we do in terms of social media. Like for instance, which I think is actually way more valuable in some ways, with like social media marketing and all that stuff. That's actually.
But that can be in film school as well.
But it's not.
Well, you don't know that.
Well,
you have no idea what they actually teach about social media marketing. But
I know that
maybe they don't teach it.
I know that generally speaking, well, look, I could give you like real world. We know people that are now not making films that have been to film school.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
Perfect example. Perfect example. I worked at a guy at a video store who went to film school. Right, he spent, I think it was like 50 or 100,000 pound on the film school. He made a short film. It was not amazing. He still owed that money, and he was not in the business.
You can't.
But that story is not. But that's
didn't make it in a very tough industry.
But that's what I'm saying was like that's not a unique story.
I know. It's what happens to most people.
Yeah,
but
that's some. So why give yourself 50 to 80K worth of student debt?
Because you got to start at the beginning.
You could start at the beginning without that. You could start at the beginning completely without it.
But what you're trying to do is make
movies,
make a career,
and learn how to make movies.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to make a career in an industry with a 95% failure rate.
Okay.
So
why put yourself into a huge amount of debt to do that?
Well, but why start that industry at all? You know, like as in, if
you're gonna start that industry,
why start it at all?
But if you're gonna start that industry,
if you are gonna start it, then you should consider how difficult it is to make it. What you need to do, obviously, is learn a lot and in a short period of time. And the way to do that is not making movies all by yourself necessarily. It's meeting with filmmakers and networking and being taught by a tutor who's done this before how to do it. And then you could potentially, if you're a good student, compress 5 years of learning films the hard way into 1 year of learning films the quick and easier way.
Well, I disagree because I think
that's okay.
Making movies making movies is what compresses the time. There's no thing that you.
So you make movies at film school.
Yeah, but you don't make movies every week at film school.
But you don't make movies every week when you're making them by yourself.
But you could if
you don't, right? Because you can't, because it's expensive and it takes way longer than 1 week to make a movie.
No, that's not true at all. It all depends what you're trying to learn.
Yeah, but if we didn't, for example.
Yeah, no, but like I said, we've already taken ourselves out of the equation.
But nobody's making films, one film a week, really, whether it's in film
actually,
school or not.
I mean, every YouTuber in the world would disagree with that.
Okay, yeah, sure, but we're talking about filmmaking, now.
But that's an ever-growing thing, filmmakers on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, mate. It's been happening for years.
Yeah, so
a lot of filmmakers are on YouTube.
Yeah, so
most filmmakers are on YouTube.
But
they make feature films and lots of
those filmmakers
on YouTube.
Lots of those filmmakers on YouTube make short-form content weekly on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And so they could learn by doing it on YouTube. They don't need to go to film school and spend $80,000.
Yeah, well, look, you're right about that. But if you want to talk about like actual cinema, like really not making a YouTube video, but actually being and working with cinematographers and understanding the light and understanding all of these types of things. You're right that obviously making a YouTube video once a week is also awesome. So what I would really suggest is that while you study at film school, you regularly create other content if you can as well, and basically get the best of both worlds. So you're being taught during the day what to do by somebody who's done it, and then you go home at night and make your YouTube video armed with this knowledge. If you can find the hours in the day. So I think that. Film school. I'm all for it. I think it's a pretty good idea. And also, look, you haven't studied, right?
Yeah.
I have studied, and I did a 2-year course, and I learned a lot of stuff. And the debt wasn't that bad. I got about a $11,000 debt, which I paid off relatively quickly once I started working in TV, and I learned all sorts of stuff about the basics, of like how sound works, how a camera works, how editing works. And I didn't have to figure it out myself because somebody was there who had done it before to teach me.
But someone is there on YouTube to teach you.
Yeah. Okay,
all those things.
You've got to know what to look for. There's no structure there, is there? Like you've got to go, okay, cool. Well, I don't know what to look for, but I'm going to go and look for sound editing, directors of photography, light, and how all this stuff
But probably
works.
if you literally write in each one of those terms, you will find three things that will tell you.
You don't know what to look for necessarily. Whereas in a course, there's some structure. It's like, you can't argue against the one generation passing down knowledge to the next generation, which is essentially what a school does.
Yes.
Versus like just putting people out and saying, "Hey, go figure it out yourself. Don't worry, you're armed with all the tools. You've got YouTube and access to
a generation via YouTube
and all of that stuff.
Generation of teaching via YouTube. It's just a different teaching format.
Yeah, but
which is free
with no structure, and so that's what it costs you. Like they don't say, "Okay, look, here's a movie has a beginning, middle, and end." How do you even know to look up structure of a movie if you don't know anything that movies even have a structure?
Sure, I guess
you've got to know what you don't know, and that course helps you establish that.
Yeah. I guess it could introduce you to principles that you would not be introduced to if without understanding that there were these principles. But I think that generally speaking, a lot of those things would literally be in your recommended YouTube after you watched one YouTube thing.
But you're also expecting people to then have the motivation to essentially kind of sit down, for hours and hours on end and learning something with no structure, no direction, direction about sort of what's important, and just kind of expecting them to self-motivate. And, as you said, there's different types of learners. And for a lot of people, most of us, myself included, I prefer like some sort of structure that allows me to narrow it down from all the bullshit in the world down to the relevant bullshit. And then I can, kind of focus on that stuff. And when I don't have that, I'm a bit lost. I'm a bit like, oh, okay, I don't really exactly, there's so many different possibilities here. Which one am I supposed to focus on and how am I supposed to figure it out? So, I mean, it comes down to that that learning thing. And like we established earlier, you're extremely motivated and you're a person who can sit there until 4 a.m. figuring out this annoying thing, which is, a real pain in the ass that you've got to learn that would take, half an hour for a tutor to explain to you. But, you don't mind sitting until 4 a.m. to do it. But most of us do mind sitting until 4 a.m. to do it. So I would rather, a course, a structure, and have, elders pass knowledge down to me, which I then, incorporate into my filmmaking, while also staying active on YouTube and other places like that in order to regularly create content and see practically how it works as well. You're like, okay, cool. So you've told me this, but now I can understand because I put the light over there and it looked like shit. And when I brought it in like this, it looked a lot better. And so you get that practical hands-on experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, those structured courses do exist on YouTube though.
Yeah, but the motivation doesn't. The self-motivation doesn't.
I think you're underestimating sort of every passionate filmmaker out there though.
Well, maybe, but as you established, there's different learners out there.
Yep.
And so, I think that
but
a lot of learners are people who require some direction and structure in order to, figure out where to go.
But we
can't all be like so focused, as you are.
Yeah, but I also think that if we look towards the future, actually these courses are all going to become online.
Yeah.
In which case, we're actually all going to be doing this style of learning.
But you'll still be paying for it, and you'll still require the tutor. Whether it's online or not is not actually, the delivery is not so relevant. What's relevant is that there's a structure, and that this knowledge is being given to you directly, rather than giving you a camera and saying figure it out. They say, or not even giving you a camera and saying figure it out, rather than you getting a camera and figuring it out, somebody gives you a camera and says, here's how this works.
Yeah.
This is the front, this is the back. This is what a lens does, and they actually tell you about it. And you don't need to, how can you learn about, I don't know, focal length if you haven't been told to search for that,
Yeah, but I think, if you just type in camera basics, that's the type of thing that's going to be covered in that basics tutorial.
Sure.
Tyler says, I'm part of the wave of VFX artists who just found Andrew Kramer and dove into online self-teaching. Never took a course in film school on VFX.
Well, I didn't say that there's not people that are good self-motivated YouTube learners. I'm saying combine them all. But I do think that film school is worth it. I think Polytech is worth it.
Save your money, kids.
I disagree.
Save that money.
I think get into it. I also am a big advocate of film festivals as well. Another establishment you're not a fan of.
I've got another example of film festival ripping off me today. In fact, that leads me to my next story. So that's a great segue. So speaking of film festivals kind of being a bit of a con, this was a con that I was aware of. I actively participated in this con. So basically what happened is, this is the problem with film festivals. You just get messages from hundreds of film festivals, and you have no idea whether they're good or bad. You have no idea if they're relevant or not. Yes, there's all the big ones.
If they're messaging you, the answer is don't reply to. If they're messaging you, then the answer is they're not a good one.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, that's not. That's not actually.
Cons isn't like.
Actually,
hey, would you like to support
that's
your
not.
film?
That's not at all true. good festivals will approach you directly if they've heard from other festivals that your film is good.
Okay, but let's assume that you've just made a short film and you're submitting it around and you get emails from people being like, hey, we would like your film, and your film hasn't really screened anywhere or anything like that.
Okay.
And there's no reason to think that, we're not talking about a big Oscar, potential Oscar
but
winner.
like, for instance,
we're talking about your little local film.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a film that, a documentary film that has won a couple of awards at film festivals.
Yeah.
So it is entirely possible that this is a legitimate request from a film festival that has been made aware or has looked at your IMDb or whatever and gone, we want to do it, right? So anyway, I saw this one and I was like, okay, I don't really know anything about this film festival. But what I do know is that they screen films monthly, which means that the chances of being selected for this film festival are kind of a lot higher because it's not just once a year, it's once a month. And what I do know is I need to get festival laurels, purely, again, it's all a big con, it's all a big circle jerk, purely to be on IMDb, because IMDb needs you to verify the film.
That it exists.
Yeah, and that it's not just, something. So I was like, okay, cool. So I knew this, and I saw, and I was like, this is pretty expensive for a monthly film festival, but it's also not any more expensive than most of these film festivals. And I was like, okay, I feel like I've got a good chance of these films getting in because of this whole monthly thing, and that they asked, requested the submission. And I was like, fucking easy, submitted it, got it. Okay, and then I was like, oh, also I'd really like those award trophies they've got. So, again, chances are slightly higher that it might get an award, right? Look a little deeper on that website after being accepted, and it's like, cool, here you go, here's the screening, yes, you got your laurels, great, now I can get up on IMDb, that's fantastic, sort of, except I paid for that, really, and I paid this film festival, and this film festival was doing this monthly, and I saw that there was probably 10 other films, right, for this month, so 10 times $70 or whatever, and that's just the ones that they accepted, so presumably there's probably a whole bunch that they didn't, is X amount of dollars for this monthly screening, which they do online, so it's not really very cost prohibitive for them either. And then I looked at these award things and it's like the look of these awards, you could get one for $220 US. Just order your award for being in the festival. And I was like, wait. So you don't even give out these fucking awards to winners? They have to pay you like I paid for that certificate from that other one? Talk about a fucking con. So if I want an award from that, like if I want to go, hey, I got this great award from this festival, all I have to do is send them $220 US. Yeah,
but Guy, you obviously you've got to associate with more reputable festivals. Sure. Like, so you're essentially like slumming it with the scumbags at the bottom who are ripping off people and then painting the industry.
But on the same token, but when you say slumming it, again, it's a big con, because the other big con is all of these festivals have really good ratings on the only place that you can judge, which is Film Freeway. And they have it though, because they have really good ratings, because people like me get selected for the thing, which helps, it's helped me, so I help them by giving them a good rating, not because they're good. And that, I'm telling you, this is a big problem in the film festival. So you go, yeah, you've got to be more selective. And it's like, that's fine to a degree, but it kind of like, we're still kind of got this huge subsection of festivals just kind of essentially kind of doing this online make money format. And I think it's a bit of a con, and I think there's too much of it.
Well, I think you've got to be careful out there, because there's heaps of scammy and conny film festivals.
But it's also, it's like a con that we're conning each other. It's like, hey, here's the con. Your film is good. This is one of the cons. Your film is good. Or maybe it is good.
Bullshit,
that's the thing.
Because obviously if it's a good film festival and people pay tickets, people buy tickets, right? Now, they're not going to buy tickets 2 years in a row if you go to a film festival and it plays a bunch of crap films.
I agree.
Right? So the festivals themselves rely for their livelihood on compiling good films together. Because if you go once and see a bunch of crap films, you're probably not going to go to that festival the next year. And it's not even necessarily the festival's fault. Maybe the films were crap that year.
But the problem is, A, that's a subjective choice, but B, you're right, people wouldn't go, except what if There's enough good films out there that festivals can pick good films, so that's not going to happen. Like, what if, like, competition's tough. Heaps of people are making more films, more content has been made than ever before. So if more films have been made than ever before, then good festivals, or not good festivals, still have a big enough kitty to pick out good films, so they're not going to compromise. Like, you're not going to go to a
What do you
festival.
mean? They can't put they can't have your film in it if your film's not good, and they can't. So what are you saying? Like, that the fact that a festival might make money from you submitting your film and your film not getting in?
I mean, well, there's that too, but no, it's more that it's like a good film festival and a bad film festival can curate good films either way, because they have enough films being submitted that are good.
Sort of. I mean, like, we don't submit to a lot of shit film festivals. Like, we obviously, everybody aims to submit to the good ones, the reputable ones that are actually valuable for you if you get in, because there's less point in just submitting to these low tier ones.
But there's still kind of a point.
What you do is you get another screening, you get another laurel, like.
Good for promotion.
That is good.
Publicity.
But then on top of that, you do also literally get your film screened to a paying public, which is, a big deal for a filmmaker, because sure, you can bang it up on YouTube, but like, this is an audience that's come to watch your film in a cinema. That's quite special, and you didn't have to pay for that cinema. And even better, you might even get free accommodation, or you might get free tickets and all that type of thing as well if your film gets in. And then on top of that, all of the other filmmakers that make films and get their films in attend, and they bring with them their, connections. And so you, as an entry-level filmmaker, perhaps might get your film in and then meet a bunch of people at the festival. It's a focal point for everybody to network, which is very valuable as well for that whole meeting people thing and getting your work in front of important people. So basically, it's like you get this screening, you get your work in front of important people, you get the opportunity to network, you get the laurel. And so there's a bunch of reasons why it's still good to get into kind of any festival.
Yeah.
It's just not good if you have a really good film. You have to be more selective, because you can't go, I'm going to like premiere my film at this kind of shitty festival, because you only get one premiere. So you really want to have your premiere at the best possible festival that you can. And so yeah, basically you've just got to be kind of selective about your festivals. And then you're right that on the lower levels of this, it is a big circle jerk where basically somebody goes, yeah, we'll let you in, that'd
be $70.
We'll give you 5 stars and you give us 5 stars. And yeah, there is a submission fee. So it depends on the level of the festival. But if you're a good filmmaker and your film is good, then you're not going to waste too much time submitting it to those low tier ones. You're going to aim for the high ones. And if your film is selected, then that's all very vindicating, and you go from there. And if it doesn't get selected, you have to work your way all the way down to these lower tier ones. And if you're only getting selected into lower tier festivals, well, then you have to look at your career and reflect upon it and reflect upon your work and sort of go like, okay, cool. If I'm only getting into these, am I wrong, or is everybody, all these festivals, are they all against me? Is there a conspiracy?
Or is it that those festivals go for A, more prestigious directors, and B, more prestigious actors, because they know that they will draw more to their festival in terms of revenue and income?
They let you in as a low tier person, or they only let in these high tier people?
But then that kind of creates a problem, because it's not necessarily about the quality of the film. There's like 4 other choices that are like, it's like, oh, well, this is a really good director, we want them there, so they get in, even though that film that they have that's on our thing is a bit of a stinker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always going to be like practical things that need to be planned or, taken into consideration, such as like getting bums on seats and all that type of thing.
And there's also
like these festivals are running businesses as well, so they've got to get bums on seats. So if there's a big famous director who's released a new film and it's a bit of a pooper, but it's going to get some bums on seats, then yeah, okay, maybe they will give it an extra good look. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get in, because there's a big varied team of people that decide what films get into film festivals. It's not like there's just one person. So yeah, like sometimes, but obviously they do have to take into consideration
political machinations.
Exactly, that's true. Like you do have to consider bums on seats, because it's a business at the end of the day, film festivals. So Yeah, there's a little from column A, there's a little from column B.
There's also
I'm pro film festivals and I'm pro film school. I'm pro both of those.
Anti both.
I think it's just about your you've got your specific situation and the film festival in particular, and the film school in particular, and your film career in particular. But overall, I'm pro all of those things.
Stop ripping off filmmakers' film festivals.
We've got some great feedback here. So the feedback, we've got feedback from Nocturnal, who we've been ignoring. Oh, shit. All the comments are gone because I went away. I was looking at his Twitch comments.
Well, this last one is on YouTube.
Yeah, all right. Well, he obviously switched over because he was on Twitch before, and I was going to read those out. So send those through again or something. But anyway, yeah, he's fallen asleep at almost every. This is Nocturnal. He's fallen asleep at almost every screening at the Palais at Festival de Cannes. Plenty of terrible films screened there. And at the American film market in LA. I bet we can make an ultra pretentious Cannes carbon copy.
That is another kind of factor in the.
Be like pretentious.
Well,
stuff,
not so much that, but it's like
making just a fun.
If
film.
you make a zombie horror comedy,
yeah,
you can bet your sweet ass that Cannes is probably not going to accept that one. Now, does that make that a lesser film than whatever that Power of the Dog was? You know. That, staring wistfully off into the sunset color and not washing.
Did you finally get around to watching it?
Watch it yet.
You haven't watched it. See, I haven't watched it either.
You know why? Because I know it's probably not going to be very entertaining.
For me, you know why? Because it's too long. I know how long it is. And it's on Netflix, right? But I can't watch it because I hear that it's really long. Can't handle it. I can handle 9 1-hour episodes of a TV show, but I can't handle 1.5 hours of a movie.
Well,
it's the lack of breaks that's the problem. Nah, like 1.5 is fine, but that's about my limit.
Doctor Strange 2 I also watched recently.
I mean, apart from like The Pianist and
Did we talk about that
Schindler's
last
List.
podcast?
Yeah, we talked about it. I think we talked about it last episode.
I've got one other Netflix non-recommendation.
Okay, well, hold that thought because I've got a couple of listener feedback, a wee bit of shout-outs and listener feedbacks here. So shout-out to Jezza Housen, who came to my screening in Christchurch the other week. Thank you, Jezza. Good man. Thanks for buying a ticket and showing up. Bloody good on you, mate, and it was good to see you as well. He was wearing his older T-shirt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, boy.
Or, no, I think it was a Sifty 1. Even better, it was a Sifty 150 T-shirt. So shout out to all you guys. There's probably a link in the description, but you can find Sifty 150 T-shirts. I've got my older T-shirt on at the moment and available on the Pigville YouTube channel. So yeah, shout out to Jezza. And then also we got some listener feedback from one of your rants last week.
Yeah.
And also I want shout out to Tyler, Tyler, the VFX creator as well. We'll come back to him in a second as well. But so listener feedback from your rant last week. Guy, thank you for sharing. So this is in relation to your film distribution rant.
Oh yeah.
When you were ranting about film distribution and the sales agent.
I've actually got a little update to that.
Yeah. Well, Nightbird on YouTube says, thank you for your difficult story and feelings about the hell that you've been through with your film distribution. As a fellow artist, my heart ached for you because I know the importance of the work we create and its attachment to our body, mind, and soul. I'm glad to hear that chapter in your life is now over and you can start the healing process and moving forward with your craft. You and Harley are the friends I've always wanted. So thank you so much for this podcast and for being two awesome guys.
And that was from Nightbird.
That was from Nightbird. So
Nightbird,
thank you, Nightbird.
Thank you for the kind comments.
Yep.
I greatly appreciate that, and we're glad that we could be those friends.
Mm-hmm. Remotely.
Yeah.
Digitally. Unless you live in Amsterdam, in which case we catch up for a special cookie.
Yeah.
And then Tyler said something earlier that I was going to come back to. Do you remember what it was?
You mean on just today?
Yep.
Well, he did also the VCR editing thing when he was little.
Oh, no, I know what he was going to say, which was that the last short that he made. So Tyler, the website creator, is editing the short highlights that we post every week of this podcast.
Yes.
And we posted one last week called "Everyone Hates Travel Stories." And
so valid.
It was mostly you ranting about travel stories.
So valid.
And so it has blown up. It's blown up online. It's got more than 2,000 views in a few days. That's pretty good by our podcast YouTube standards. So thank you to all of our new listeners if you're tuning in now.
People relate.
Now, people commented on that. And here's what they had to say. Okay, so this is a video of you saying that
waffling on about we don't care about travel.
Travel stories are shit. Nobody should tell travel stories.
Unless...
If you go somewhere and do something interesting, don't tell your friends about it because they do not give a shit.
They don't want to know.
Yeah, that was the gist of your rant.
Unless they're planning to travel to that place.
To that specific place and they want some specific advice on how to enter the pyramid, for example. Yeah. Where is the secret passage, for example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the eye, the all-seeing eye?
Now, this person probably saw it out of context because it's only 1 minute of the show, but they said, Yogo-san said, imagine your best friend telling you a travel story and you have the cheek to get upset. I think they were upset at you, Guy, about that. And then Luis 18 says, laughing my ass off. Guys who don't want to hear people have travel stories, but they have a podcast. These guys have big brains. Which I guess...
We do.
Yeah.
That's true. We do have big brains.
Bob Mob says, you got to be insecure if you don't like travel stories because you haven't gone yourself.
Who said that?
Bob Mob.
Bob, I'm sorry to say that I'm sad to pinpoint you, but you've told many travel stories to many people who did not give a fuck.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry, Bob.
And you've been triggered by that little
and then
piece of commentary.
2 Girls, 1 Cup says, then why would you even be on a podcast? What the fuck are you going to talk about? It's all the same describing something you probably haven't done. You don't look like you do it much at all. You don't look like you travel much at all.
Well, we haven't traveled in 2 years.
Not me, mate. I've been traveling domestically maybe 8 times a year. And less than a year ago, I went to Tokyo for I was away for a month.
Oh yeah,
so I've travelled.
I mean, you mean if you count pre-pandemic?
That wasn't pre-pandemic. It was during the pandemic. It was literally less than a year ago. It was when I lived in this house.
Oh yeah. But I mean, my only opportunity to travel internationally is pre-pandemic. Right before pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
I was over in the UK.
Yeah.
Traveling.
And right before the pandemic, I was in LA.
And then
traveling, American film market.
And then right after the pandemic, what are we doing?
Traveling.
So suck on that, 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Fuck you, 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Why don't you put that in your 1 cup and smoke it
and sip on it gently? Have you seen Did you actually watch 2 Girls, 1 Cup?
Nah,
Did you ever check it out?
Nah.
Yeah, I checked it out. I watched it. It's fake. You can tell it's fake because what they do is it's 2 women in a cup and they poo in the cup and then they eat the poo in the cup.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very disgusting and it makes them vomit and then they're vomiting on each other and shitting on each other and eating the poo. But the thing is, when you if you watch the video, to me, it doesn't authentically look like actual poo as much as to me it looks like what they did was they stuck like a chocolate whipped cream up someone's butt and then filled up their butthole with the whipped cream and then pooped that into a cup and ate it, which is totally fine.
Well, here's the thing, Harley. There's been conspiracy theories through the years. The moon landing was faked. The Twin Towers was an inside job. The COVID vaccine is a conspiracy by the government to control people with magnetic waves and what have you. Okay? This is the next great conspiracy of our time. Did the 2 Girls, 1 Cup, was it real poo? It wasn't. It was faked, just like the moon landing.
I think that it was, again, like most things in life, the details are actually in the grey area. And so truth is often in the grey area. And so here's the thing. I think that they did poo, that there was a scat element to it. And scat is quite common, not common, but it's a known porn type, shit-related porn. And so I feel like this director, this producer, just got, a couple of ladies that were cool with scat and basically said, so let's do some pooing and other bum-related stuff. And when they had finished pooing, which was, you can only poo once, really, there was some poo involved. And then they put the cream up there and they really it took it above and beyond.
Whoa.
And when you're eating when you're eating the chocolate whipped cream from somebody's butthole, from their inner intestine, when they poop it out into a cup, when you eat that, there is also some fecal matter there. So it's embellished. It's embellished reality, is what I would say.
The cup never went out of frame.
No. You see it. Like, you see a butthole. You see a brown something exiting the butthole and going into the cup. And I always remember, as it hits the cup, you can tell it's got a certain amount of weight to it, because the cup kind of like moves, like it's somebody's holding the cup, and the poo hits with such force that the cup actually, moves a little. And so they had to. It's not like camera trickery. No, it's more like they stuck something fake up somebody's bum that wasn't actually poo.
Two girls,
it was chocolate cream.
One cup.
Yeah,
was an inside job.
Yeah. Inside their colon. Yeah. Speaking of inside their colon, I have got a new show reel. And
I did see that, actually. So I watched that before.
Oh, you checked it out?
Yeah, I checked it out.
You saw yourself in it?
I did see myself in it, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Yeah, why?
That the thing that you're most famous for, you're playing where you're the lead,
where
you're front and center, you're on the poster, there you are.
Yeah.
Your mum's got a tattoo of it, just to make sure, in case you forget.
Yeah.
There he is, the lead character, the main dude, front and center of the biggest film you've ever been in, is not part of that show reel.
Well, but the reason why is because it was in my previous show reel. So it's not like I haven't put it in my show reel. It's been in my show reel for years.
I know.
But also, we shot that at the beginning of 2011, 11 years ago. And
time has passed.
Time has passed. And so if I release something called Showreel 2022, why do I have a clip of something from 2011?
Because it's still a highlight of your career.
Well, I would love to have it in there.
Do you think that when Sylvester Stallone puts out his new show reel, he doesn't include Rocky?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm not sure that he would necessarily. So I mean, I did want to put I Survived a Zombie Holocaust in for a number of reasons, but it just didn't really make too much sense to me to have something from 11 years ago in my current show reel, particularly because the duration was already, so it's about 4 minutes 38, and my original cut of my show reel was like 27 minutes or something like that. So obviously that was never going to be released that way.
Yeah.
It was obviously never going to be released that way, but it was about 27 minutes. And so I was like, okay, cool. With Sam Wheeler, shout out Sam, aka Nocturnal, who's watching right now.
The master editor.
The man himself. Still hasn't invoiced me, but I don't mind. And so we worked together to get it from 27 minutes to 9 minutes to 5 minutes to 4.5 minutes. And so really I should almost probably take a little bit more out of it. So I was like, well, so much good stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. There was a bunch of stuff from Emmy the Vegan I wanted to put in there. There was a whole bunch of other things that I just took them out entirely. Like there's only one commercial in there, for example. And there was a bunch of other things that I just took out entirely.
Just too successful.
Just
You're
too
a victim
prolific.
of your own success.
I'm too prolific, mate. That's the problem. Too prolific. There was just so much stuff. It was like, this is not going to fit in a show reel under 5 minutes.
Also, just a little side note for people that kind of get dejected about acting rejections. I listened to a podcast with a guy that's now sort of become famous on YouTube. But he was an actor. So he started off as an actor, and he went to one of the the Royal Shakespeare schools in London, right? He's an Asian guy. So, part of it is obviously there's less roles for Asian people. But he was like, so just my tally over this 4-year period, he was like, I can't remember. It was like astronomical. It was in the thousands. He was like, basically, 2,500 rejections for auditions.
Yeah, but who counts them? Fucking harden up, man. I've had thousands of rejections as well. I get rejected from literally 99.5% of everything I've ever auditioned for.
I guess that's my point, though. My point is that to me,
Don't count them.
if I got rejected 2,500 times within a short time period,
you have been probably rejected 2,500 times. You just don't know because you didn't count it.
Not over that short of time period.
Over how long? How long did you say?
Like a couple of years.
Right.
Like that's what I'm saying. That's what the astronomical part. If you said over the course
as well, I'd love to see the screen grabs. 2,000 screen grabs of every rejection email.
Oh, I don't. If you
they don't even email you when they reject you. Actually,
yeah,
they just don't answer you. They just don't. You
just find
don't
out.
hear anything. You just don't hear anything. Yeah, it just comes out. Power of the dog. Power of the dog just comes out.
Yeah, with someone else.
Acting across from Benadryl Bumble match.
Unwashed Benadryl Bumble match.
I'm glad I didn't get it, stinky cunt. You were saying?
I just really want us to clip that quote out for him.
For Benadryl?
Yeah. So
Benadryl bundle match.
But I guess that was my point. Is like, well, in New Zealand, it's like, okay, if you have an audition once per week, you're going to get 50 rejections, 52. And this guy had thousands, and he was like, I take that as a badge of honor because, like now I've, succeeded in this other area, but I am a real actor. This is my credentials. And he's like, and I've also, it wasn't like within those rejections, he'd also been cast in like 4 or 5 feature films in sort of prominent roles. So, but he was like, but that's the reality. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good to know.
Well, Nocturnal says that the show reel was a fun project and there was a lot of great work to choose from.
He also says that he hasn't left the property in 4 months.
Right. I saw him at his property a little while ago. He was looking good. He looked all right.
He's always popping in.
It didn't look like
he
didn't look like he hadn't left the property in 4 months. He didn't look like a madman living in a shed or anything like that.
amongst the many moving animatronics.
Yeah.
He didn't look like a crazy person in a shed full of live animatronics. He looked totally fine. No effects. Well,
that show reel, I've just shared it in the chat, and it's also been shared on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. So if you would like to check out my new show reel, please do go ahead and do that. I'd love for it to get a few more views. I haven't put it on my Facebook yet, but I did announce today the official nomination for Best Oceanian Actor on my Facebook, and I've been waiting on the show reel to be ready before I shared it so that I could then put the show reel in the description and start pushing the show reel as well. And I sent it to my agent, and I was a bit worried that they were going to say, oh, well, let's cut this out, let's cut that out, because that's what happened last time. Basically, last time they were like, yeah, it's too long. We don't need to see your shitty acting face for that long. But this time, the big boss said, what stellar work, so enjoyable and varied. So that's good. They're obviously
chameleon.
Happy with the show reel, yeah. There was a bunch of other stuff. I wanted to, for example, the 80s skit that you and I did.
That was a good one.
A little bit in there. But the reason why I didn't use it in the end, with the one where I'm in
the 80s work,
is because of the music. And I didn't want to have copyright issues on YouTube on top of the timing issue. I also wanted to just, I had to cut a whole bunch of really great stuff out. So yeah. But yes, so new show reel is out. So do go and check that out, please.
Nocturnal says he definitely didn't look like Tom Hanks from Castaway if he had a 3D printer and a soldering iron.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to utilizing one of those animatronics in a skit, to be honest.
We'll break it in 5 minutes.
Well, he'll break it because he'll be the one handling it.
He'll be the one in charge of it. Someone will break it in 5 minutes, but it'll be fun until then. Until the shoot stops, because we need 6 of them because we keep breaking them.
Yeah. So there was one other.
What do you? So we both want to lose a bit of weight for this Amsterdam.
Oh yeah, let's just finish with that, eh? Let's finish with that.
With what?
Losing weight.
Yeah.
Let's finish with that one because let's finish with it because I'm getting fucking hungry. You know why I'm fucking hungry?
Why?
Because I'm trying this new thing that mate
Jason
P. Diddy Coombs recommended.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting, which is nothing new, and I've actually tried it before to some degree of success. However, this is a more stringent version. I'm taking his philosophy. So he was like, basically, I don't eat until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And then I sort of finish at like, not, it depends how long it is, whether it's a 4-hour or 6-hour window. But either or, that's roughly in that time, that's when I eat. And I was like, okay, I feel like this could really work for me. One, look, the benefits of intermittent fasting are very much outlined as being true and scientifically backed. So there's no doubt that intermittent fasting is a good idea.
Is the idea to let your stomach shrink?
Well, the idea is to trigger your metabolism. The idea is to shock your body and its metabolism into working better through not eating, but not completely not eating anything. And so anyway, I was sort of like, cool, I'm going to try this intermittent fasting. And so I've been doing the same thing, essentially the same thing that he has, in the sense that I don't eat until 6 o'clock. And it's now 7 o'clock. So you can imagine the hunger and rage really, really high now. They're really up there. So if I'm...
Well, what time did you last... So you're not
So
allowed
last
to eat till
time
after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And do you eat immediately before you go to bed?
Well, that's
do you have a big feed?
That's the thing. So you'd eat at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then you'd probably eat really just towards the end of your window.
Yeah. Well, when's the end of your window, though?
Well, it depends if it's 4 hours or 6 hours. So depending on what you're doing, 4 hours or 6 hours.
Because you said that you don't start eating until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have breakfast. You skip breakfast.
Skip lunch.
Terrible advice.
No
from
breakfast,
Jason
no
Penetti
lunch.
Combs. Terrible advice. Skip breakfast.
And lunch.
Skip lunch. No sugars in your blood. You can't figure out. You can't tell your ass from your fucking elbow.
Yep.
And then at 6 p.m.
Yep.
You then eat a big fat meal.
Yep.
As much as you can, gorge yourself probably, because there's no limit. There's no limit. You can just eat at 6 as much as you want. Maybe you don't want to be silly. But
that's what I'm saying.
yeah. So you eat something at 6 p.m., which is early for dinner. Like I don't have dinner at 6 p.m. And then you go to bed at midnight or something. Like what time does Jason Penetti Combs go to bed at?
But he says he has another meal at around 8:30.
So he eats at 6 p.m. and 8:30. Yeah. And then he doesn't eat anything else and he goes to bed. Okay, so it sounds to me like it's not really intermittent fasting as much as it is starving yourself and just eating one meal a day at night.
No, he's having 2 meals.
Two meals close to each other at night.
That is intermittent.
But why would you have 2 meals close to each other? Because obviously at 6 p.m. you're super hungry. You're going to eat until you're full, and then you got to go to bed at some point. And you're going to have another meal sometime before then, before you go to bed. Give your body a whole bunch of energy before you jump into bed. A bunch of carbs and stuff, and then and you're not even that hungry at that point because you've just eaten. Yeah. So you're essentially just eating 1 meal per day.
Yeah. Well, 2. Still 2.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the idea.
I thought the idea was to shrink your stomach. So more like you do take big gaps between eating, but the idea is that your stomach effectively shrinks. So when you eat and you get fuller quicker. Ultimately,
that will happen as well.
Yeah.
So that will be a sort of a beneficial side effect, is that at the start you'll get to 6 p.m. and you'll be like, I'm fucking ravenous.
Yeah.
Let me have this huge meal. And then after a while you'll be still, I'm fucking ravenous.
Yeah.
But I'll have a smaller meal and I feel the same as I did when I had that huge meal.
Yeah.
But it's really about that time period before eating, which allows your body to be burning fat all through the day.
Yeah.
All through the whole.
But don't you feel like mentally kind of dull when you don't eat? Because when I'm really hungry and I don't eat and I miss out on food for a while, I end up feeling a bit sort of dull. Mentally, I'm not as sharp.
That's another.
I'm distracted.
That's another thing you have to work through, because again, there's a lot of science to suggest that actually being hungry
makes you smarter,
makes you more alert.
And you're like, where's that fucking? I'm a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer. Where's the latest cockroach?
Yeah, and I need
to eat this cockroach.
I'm triggered. I'm on edge, but that means that I'm actually at my kind of peak functioning and capacity.
Yeah, interesting theory.
Anyway, he shared a YouTube link. I didn't watch it. I just listened to what he actually wrote in his thing.
And then you're like, that's it. That's all the advice I need.
That's all.
Man from America that I've never met in person.
Well, not at all. I've read heaps about intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And I've at certain times like tried to adopt it, but I've never tried to I've always made the mistake of doing my intermittent earlier, and so when I go to bed really, really hungry, I just can't sleep.
Yeah.
And so then I have to go up and eat, and then the fast is gone.
Yeah.
So this actual strategy I felt could work really well for me.
Yeah.
But I've done it for a week, gained 1 kg.
Okay, that's weird. But you have been going to the gym, so maybe it's just a kg of muscle.
Well, and also
that seems like a lot of muscle for a week.
And also it's like I'm still not really doing the eating part right, right? So I'm not then eating sensibly.
Right, so at 6 p.m. you head down to Macca's.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, sweet, I've done my fasting for today.
Exactly.
It's time for some KFC.
But I do think, so what I will say is that the whole mentally alert thing, I sort of felt that rather than, I did feel fatigued the first couple of days that I tried it. But following on from that, I was like, I am gnawingly hungry, and this does occupy some part of my brain space. And, it's like I have to trick myself into going, how about a nice full glass of water? How about you just drink it? Oh, you'll be real full after that, a big old glass of water. Or how about another coffee? You want another coffee? Coffee's a filling. Have another coffee. So all of that, I could at least stick to it, which is the first start of it.
Black coffee or coffee?
Yeah, black coffee.
Black coffee.
Got to be black coffee.
Yeah.
So I can sort of stick to that as a strategy, I think. Obviously, I have to give it more time to see if it really works. And also, so on the weekend, I did not do it.
Yeah.
Because I had other things going on.
Well, the thing is that,
and I'm not sure if
fat doesn't know it's the weekend. So fat only builds on weekdays. Fat
only builds on weekdays. Well, it was more. I mean, that's the problem. Is
fat knows it is the weekend.
To truly test it out, do I ever get a day off, or can I never take a day off?
Yeah.
For example, and then in which case maybe I've got to spread it over the weekend. Also, I probably got to stop chucking in the ice cream and the donut in the eating period, and also get real strict with those eating times. Isaac asked, "What about the stack of Pepsi in the studio?" Well, the stack is gone. Now, I did actually have a Coke, which was at around 5:45 that I started drinking this.
Yeah, but there's not a huge amount of difference between that and... Well, I mean, I guess there's a difference between that and black coffee.
Yeah, there is a significant difference.
Yeah.
So again, I haven't quite managed it. But to answer your question, Isaac, it would be fine if this was a Coke Zero.
Yeah.
It still would not really be good. But anyway, so far I've gained 1 kg.
Yeah.
And I feel hungry all the time and angry.
So there you go, Jason P. Diddy Combs. But shout out to Jason. But there you go. That's how it's working.
And also, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Hey, we've got a month to really get in shape and fit back into the suits we're too fat for.
Yeah, I'm definitely too fat.
And we have now, I think,
too fat for my suit.
We have now conclusively discovered that is impossible. The getting thin to get into the suit is impossible.
Yeah.
And I am going to dress smart to buy a cheap suit on the weekend.
You've given up. You're just like, that's it. I'm going to buy a new suit.
I'm going to still keep going with the fasting.
Yeah. But essentially, you've given up on the concept of fitting into your suit.
100%. No chance. There's no chance of that.
I saw a picture of myself the other day at a party, and I was like, God, I look so fat. I look so fat right now. Honestly, I was just like, my God. And I am the heaviest I've ever been in my life. So yeah. And then I tried on my suit, and I had to get rid of the waistcoat and just use the outer jacket.
Yeah.
And I can get away with it, but just barely. But if my button pops while I'm there, or if my pants split, that's going to be a big problem.
And it's going to ruin the night.
It's going to ruin the night. I'm going to look like an idiot when I go up there to win my Best Actor award. I'll walk up with my pants split and my guts hanging out. But I guess I'll get the last laugh if that's what happens.
Well, sure, you will. But what will really happen is your pants will split, your guts will be hanging out, and the person and the other person from New Zealand that's not us, that was nominated for the same award, will walk past us to collect it.
Yeah, well, I did see that we're nominated against somebody from a short film the other week.
Yeah,
there's a director, Isaac Bell. He had his short film called The Machine screening at the Civic.
Yep.
And I was meant to go along. I had tickets and I wanted to go. I invited you. You
Yep.
said you couldn't make it,
Yep.
but it was basically, I don't know, he must have some money behind him because his cast and crew, this was not his official festival premiere, his cast and crew premiere of this short film called The Machine was at the Civic, which is a pretty premiere venue in
It's
Auckland.
fucking expensive
And
to
it's in the vicinity
do
of
a
like
screening of a fucking short there. You're insane.
It's like $7,000 to $11,000 or $12,000 somewhere in that vicinity to hire it on a Saturday night. You know,
You'd be absolutely mental to use that.
but he had like 700 people show up. You know, so obviously a lot of people have heard about him. And then they had an after party as well with a whole bunch of, free drinks as well. So he's obviously...
It's mental
figured
that that's
something out
for
there.
a short
but
film.
The Machine was not the film that he was... No, he was actually screening both of his films. Actually, now that I think about it.
But the one we're talking about is Space Invader.
The one we're talking about is Space Invader, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the guys in Space Invader, it's like, wait.
He's been nominated. So he's been nominated for Space
and look, I take exception to this because it's like, whoa. Hang on. We should be
also,
in...
Space Invader is a short film.
That's what I'm saying. We should be we're nominated for Best Oceanic Actor.
Yeah, we're in
a
feature
feature
films.
film.
We're both in feature films.
Acting is always better. Like, if you've had to act well for a whole feature film,
Yeah.
that's way harder than acting well in a short film.
Yeah.
Way harder.
Well, it's
You have to only act well in a couple of scenes.
Exactly. A short film was like 5 fucking scenes. Imagine a feature.
So think
You've got
about
to be
that.
consistently good.
In the Oscars, they don't go, and winner of Best
Actor,
it goes to this guy in a short film.
Do you know what I like, though, Guy?
Yeah.
You and I are nominated for Best Oceanian Actor.
Yeah.
Right? Best Oceanian Actor.
Yeah.
You and me. Now, I looked at the list of other people there. There was nobody I recognized. That you and me are probably the most famous people on that list, I'd say. Stars of the Guy Harley Podcast. And that means that we beat Taika Waititi, Lucy Lawless, Carl Urban, Martin Henderson, Temuera Morrison, Sam Neill. None of these people, they didn't even get nominated. They didn't even get fucking nominated.
The guy from Space Invaders also beat all of them.
We're not talking about him. We're talking about you and me, Guy. We're talking about
We're leaving
you
that guy on
and
scene.
me, because also there was 8 nominees, so none of those other nominees got in. All of those nominees got nominated over Sam Neill. But
Yeah.
that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
The point is that we got nominated over all of these people. Jermaine Clement, like all of these people. We are the premier Oceanian actors, and that is
Of 2022.
proven by the fact that we are nominated and none of these other people are.
They looked at Sam Neill's performance in the most recent Jurassic Park and said, sorry, buddy, not good enough.
Sorry, homie. You're
You're going to have to sit this award ceremony out, my friend.
Exactly. Guy and Harley will be there, though. We have been nominated against Jermaine before for things.
That's true.
Jermaine and Taika for things. So we are in similar social
We
circles.
we were at the same. We were literally at the same award show.
Yeah, nominated for the same award, which they won.
And we lost.
They won Best Independent Film.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we were funded by the Film Commission, which is not really independent, and they had our entire budget, $250,000,
For marketing.
only for post-production.
Oh, I was going to say.
Only for post-production.
Yeah.
Their entire post-production budget was the equivalent of our entire budget, and they won. Anyway, congratulations to them for what we do in the shadows from 8 years ago.
Congratulations on that nomination. Yeah. Just look how our lives might have been different if we'd got that.
If we'd won, you never know. Yeah, I have noticed that at the gym. I've been, because I've been trying to go to the gym, right? I've been trying to keep more active, and it's not really working. I'm definitely getting swole, but mostly around the arse and stomach area, as opposed to the guns, and the waist getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But I did try a new class at the gym last week for the first time. And perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your workout routine as a long-term worker-outerer. But I went and did this class. It was called Kaha Upper Body, work upper body is what that means in Māori. And I think, and so basically, it was all this smashing your upper body with like all these weights and type of thing, and basically, I woke up practically disabled. Like the next day, I was bad, but the day after the next day, 2 days after, I was really disabled that day. Like I couldn't, like my arms. If I woke up, if I just sat still for a while, I found that I couldn't actually stretch my arms apart from doing it extremely slowly. I couldn't open my arms. My arms were like kind of crunched up.
Lactic acid buildup.
That's what it sounds like, to be honest. That's what it sounds like. And I could not open my arms apart from extremely slowly. And so the bad news was that I had a camera job that day. So I had to do a camera job. So aside from lifting things and carrying things, I also had to stand there for hours on end, kind of holding my arm up and like moving this camera around and doing stuff. And so that was pretty brutal. It was a 10-hour day. It might even been an 11-hour day. It was a long day of shooting as well, and I was really feeling that. At least I got to use the disabled park though. I just parked in the disabled park. So because I'm disabled.
Dad joke.
Well, that wasn't really a dad joke. I did park in the disabled park, and then they told me to move. I was like, a guy pulled up behind me.
Like, look at my arms.
A guy pulled up behind me.
I had a hard workout 2 days ago.
No, a dude pulled up behind me with no arms, and he was like, "What the fuck, man?" And I was like, "Well, at least your arms aren't sore." And then he flicked me the middle toe, and drove away angrily.
Dad joke number 2.
Number 3.
Oh, number 2 or 3.
But yeah, so I was pretty painful. And then the other thing I want to say, which is kind of a big update on my life, is that my flatmate is moving out, and my girlfriend, she who shall be named, is moving in. This is a big life change, and it's all happening immediately the day before I fly to Amsterdam. So yeah, big life change, big changing of scenery over at my half of the mansion, my half of the Pigville mansion. Flatmate moving out to move back to Russia for a little while. Interesting time to go back to Russia. Very interesting time. I was thinking about this. I was like, what are you going to do? Like if Putin decides that, if the war goes badly and Putin decides just to not let people out for a little bit, like basically Putin's like, you're here now and we're closing the borders because your job is to stay here and, work for the motherland and make babies for the motherland and, that type of stuff and strengthen the motherland.
And let's not forget.
Crazy time to go over there.
Austerity measures.
What's that?
Well, when they put in place restrictions because they can't afford to, for instance, feed everyone in Russia.
Yeah.
So they all, like in World War II, they all give them half a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
There's no bread anymore apart
Plus
from the half loaf.
The economy's fucked because of all the sanctions as well. So it's an extremely interesting time to be going there. But it does make sense, right? Like because obviously she has family there and needs to live there. But Isaac Newcomb says that if he was my girlfriend, he would move out he would move in when I wasn't there as well. Makes sense to me. Yeah. And my plan is, she can move in, set up all her shit, and I don't have to carry anything.
You didn't lift a finger.
Don't lift a freaking finger.
Yeah.
So yeah, bloody good on you. So yes, she's moving out, girlfriend's moving in. Changing of the guard. Well, I'll let you know how that goes.
So, Zombie Holocaust update.
That's right. Yeah, because
really quickly, because Tyler did ask about that. So, 2 funny things, and I wouldn't say funny, but in a follow-up to last week in that cathartic conversation I had with Abuser.
Yeah, the sales agent. You are referring to the sales agent that's
right.
been representing I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, our first feature film, which for the last 7 years we have not really made any money from or had any access to because we signed away the rights. People have been making money, just not us. And then finally we are due for these rights to go back to us after many complications and extensions and tomfoolery and loopholes,
shenanigans,
and fucking nonsense. We finally are due to get it back.
Yep.
You had a big rant about it in the last episode, episode 245 of the Guy Harley Podcast. Go back and catch it.
Encourage people to listen to that.
Yeah, that was also one of our highlights, which did pretty well. And so now you're telling us that there is another update since your rant last week about whether or not we're getting the rights to I Survived a Zombie Holocaust back and when and how it's going to work.
So nothing's really changed in the sense of when we get the rights back. So we're still scheduled, all those scheduled to come back, or we've at least got the dates of when they come back to us. And then all the other ones should be after Khan, allegedly, all wrapped up.
Well,
Okay.
what happens at fucking Cannes? What, they sell it to some other people or something?
No, they're going off to Cannes, so they're too busy to make.
Oh, they're too busy.
They're,
to
they're
worry
too
about our
busy
little film.
to make the calls that they're legally
Yeah.
obliged to make.
Yeah.
At the time that I meant to do it, which was April 22nd, which was before Cannes, just for the record.
Just FYI.
So anyway, but I did find out another interesting little nugget is there was sort of like the film commission emailed me and they're like, yeah, so when are you going to get the money that they owe you? And I was like, what money?
Yeah.
And they're like, the pittance that they owe you. When are you going to get that? And I was like, well, they make a payment to us every quarter or yearly and now.
Into your film commission
Into your
account.
film account. And they're like, no, they don't. And I was like, squeeze me?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, the last payment they made was in June of 2017.
Fuck.
Now, in that 5 more years, there is very little money. So it's not like this is,
We don't know that, right? Because they could have made heaps of sales. We don't know where
no,
it's available.
we do know that because we see that on the sales report.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's just worth fuck all.
So it's worth fuck all what we're invoicing for. But it's still probably, I don't know, but I'd speculate it's over $500. Let's put it that way.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but it's
Oh, boy.
it's nothing.
And then that 500 has to be split up between all of
Yeah.
thousands of people that
Yeah.
own percentages of this movie.
But I think
I own 2% of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, by the way.
But my
listeners.
point
If
is,
it makes $100, I get 2.
my point is that these motherfuckers can't even just pay the fuck all amount that they've got to pay in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, they literally can't do that themselves. Like, our current sales agent pays us quarterly.
Yeah.
We don't have to do anything. They pay us quarterly. They let us know when they're making that payment.
Yeah.
Comes into our account, done.
Yeah.
Right? Simple, right? We apparently, and I didn't know this, have to invoice them for the money that they owe us. Because they don't do it automatically.
Yeah.
Because they're cunts.
So how do you know how much to invoice for if they don't tell you?
Well,
Like if they're doing their own thing, how do you know how much to invoice
well,
for?
it is kind of difficult because what they used to do was they used to put the total,
Yeah.
so you could see the total amount yearly,
Yeah.
right? Now they don't give you the total amount. So I'm going to have to go back over 5 years of fuck all
Yeah.
and figure out exactly how much it is that they owe and then
Yeah.
invoice them for that. But I was just like, are you serious? You're trying to renegotiate a contract on something that you haven't paid out any money for in 5 years, despite actually owing some money, even if it is fuck all? Really? Really? Another little update to that. I was chatting with the film commission and they were like, so you're going to renew your distribution deal in New Zealand and Australia? And I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. But unfortunately, that's going to roll over for another 2 years because we apparently still, owe money on that, which again is, some accounting there may not quite add up in my opinion, but it doesn't
Like
really.
when they charge you, $2,000 for the trailer edit.
But on the same token, it doesn't really matter because, whatever, it's like, okay, it's rolling over. And they're like, no, that's scheduled to end this month. Because that, if it doesn't roll over, it is scheduled to end this month. And I was like, okay.
Let's get the fuck out of this.
And they're like, and looking at the last report that they sent through to us, which of course they didn't send through to me, the man that was meant to get those reports, you owe like $45 and they're not going to quibble over that $45.
How can we owe them money if we give them a movie and they sell the movie on our behalf? How the fuck can we owe them money?
Sales expenses, my friend. Sales expenses. The cost of production.
Yeah.
So anyway, I emailed them and they're like, and they're, to be honest, they're much easier to deal with and have always been much easier to deal with. And I was like, hey, so can you take everything down and we get that back now? And they're like, yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Just like that. There you go.
just like that. There you go. It's everything will be down by the end of the month.
So what does that mean? That means that we can then take it and to our sales agent and say to them, look, it's not available in these territories, but it is available in New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah, just
so let's get this film up on, say, Amazon, for example,
Yeah.
Amazon, New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah.
And then it can start trickling in some money, which would go basically mostly to the actual production and then 20% to the sales agent who organised that for us.
As is customary in
As is
deals that
how
do
it
not
should be.
rip off
Exactly.
the filmmakers.
Yeah, so that's good. So what does that mean? That deal's all done. So now we could go to our sales agent and say, all right, cool. So we're getting the other territories back. It's currently available in these territories.
Yeah.
Would you like to put it up on Amazon and Tubi and Google Play and the other places?
Yeah, basically just means one step closer to owning it around the world.
Yeah.
And in more territories. And that's a good thing. Especially here, because now it's like New Zealand, Australia is like, cool. Now we can then do that and refer people on to that thing and know that whenever people are streaming it, it is actually making us money.
Yeah, which is obviously that motivates you to share it more.
And also,
when you know you're actually going to get something, even if it's 1 cent, at least you're going to get something.
It also
we don't even share it on the podcast.
It also has been somewhat inaccessible to New Zealanders, ironically, because of where it was distributed. The way it was distributed in New Zealand, Australia.
No, but it was still available on iTunes and.
Yeah, but for example, not really many people use iTunes as a movie watching facility here in New Zealand, and so that becomes a bit of a barrier. I've had lots of people be like, "Oh, what iTunes?
Yeah,
I just pirated it because that's too hard. iTunes is too hard." But
iTunes is pretty fucking shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, it infuriates me sometimes.
There you go.
I rage every time. I have to use it for podcasts sometimes that I listen to. Hardcore History. My God.
That's not on Spotify?
It's so shit. No, because what I do is I download it from the Hardcore History website. Then I've got this file on my computer and I want to listen to it. I double click it and it wants to play on the iTunes app. So I play it on the iTunes app. And then if you want to, like, say you just want to pause it. I'm listening to like 5-hour podcasts about history here, and so you want to pause it, and the player is no good. You can't like just scroll and scrub through and figure out exactly where you are. It's just shit. Fucking iTunes. And I assume it's the same with movies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good that we can hopefully
one step closer to profitability.
Exactly. One step closer.
It's only been 7 years, one step closer to making money with the film.
I received during this podcast an invoice from Sam Wheeler, aka Nocturnal.
There you go, he was listening.
For the show reel. Oh, I know he was listening. I shouldn't have mentioned it because now
Spider senses were tingling.
At the end of the show, I received the freaking invoice, and now I owe him money. Yep. To be fair, I already owed him money, but now it's on paper.
Now it's real.
Yeah, now it's real. It's got to be paid before I go on holiday to the other side of the world.
He's also got a great invoicing system.
Does he?
Yep.
I'll have a look.
Encourage you to try it. You just click through. You could just fill out a thing right there and hit done. You don't even have to go into your bank.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
All right. Brilliant. Cool. Well, on that note, on Sam Wheeler being brilliant, we will end the show. It has been a lot of fun, and we'll be back next week with updates about our upcoming trips, and it's going to be pretty exciting. So, do stay tuned in, and please hit thumbs up before you go, and make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Write us a review if you can, and also there's a bunch of interesting links in the description to support us financially. Or watch our movies. They're all down below. No matter what platform you're watching on, they're all down there. So do make sure you go and check those out, because that is makes a huge difference to us. And my name's Harley Neville, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.